in the stillness of our open hearts. We have come to share the presence of the God within and to hold a sacred space in this moment at this time. As we feel the oneness of all, we have come here to build a sanctuary of love in this moment, at this time, in this moment, at this time. Please join us in singing the gratitude song.
Wow. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Susan Galvin. I am your past assistant minister here this morning. And I'm delighted to be able to share this special service with you today. I'll be introducing our guest minister in a little bit. And before we get there, please join me in turning to the camera and waving to our members at home. Happy to have you with us. We really appreciate your presence during our service. If you're new here today, We also want to give you a very special welcome. We're delighted to have you. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. And as part of what we do here, we focus on universal spiritual truths. Today you may hear music and teachings from different spiritual paths because we celebrate the many paths to God while focusing on the divine presence that lives within each of us. So I invite you now to join me in our opening prayer as we come together into that center of being that lives in each heart and begin our service. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And now take a deep breath into your heart, breathing out all the hustle of getting here. And come home to that center of being within you. And let's affirm again. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And once again, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Now please remain seated and join us in singing, "Teach Me to Pray."
We're going to teach you this new song, "Teach Me to Pray." Please remain seated. The choir will sing it once, and then we'll begin the song again for you to join in. We're going to repeat this song several times over the next few weeks so that you can learn it. And teach me to pray. My heart is open wide. My hands are set the way. Spirit, teach me to pray. Let's start it from the beginning again. Please join us. Teach me to pray. My heart is open wide. My cares are set away. Spirit, teach me to pray. Teach
what? Omwake. We should have checked on that ahead of time. David describes Mary as one of Unity's very finest ministers and teachers. She is the recipient of Unity's prestigious Light of God Expressing Award and has served thriving Unity ministries for 25 years. Mary is a founding member of the Association for Global New Thought and a convener of the Synthesis Dialogues with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. She has spoken at the United Nations as an advocate for children and was inducted into the Martin Luther King Jr. Board of Preachers for her commitment to social justice and peace. Help me welcome one of the great lights of the Unity movement, Reverend Mary Omwake.
So I just invite you to continue to breathe deeply, simply releasing and relaxing into the awareness that God is all, always, already God. And so we just breathe into that expanding awareness of what is always, already true. Right here, right now. Whatever the outer circumstances, the infinite peace and grace of the ever-present God, the all-knowing, the all-powerful, the infinite all-good is present. So as your breath just allows you to release and relax a bit more, if you have not already intentionally begun to love everyone in this sacred space with you today, I invite you to give yourself that amazing gift of simply allowing the love that you are, the love that created you, the love that carries you through all time and all space, to just begin to radiate from your heart and enfold the person to your left and the person to your right. And because you can amplify that love and release it. And so everyone in this sacred space is not only sharing the unconditional love, but receiving the infinite love of God. And it's one of the greatest gifts of all, that as much as love as you share, that love is amplified and expanded and increased. So the brother of Jesus would say, those of you who dwell in love literally dwell in God. And the infinite, the all-good, the dynamic presence, creator of all universes, known and unknown, reveals itself through you. And so join me for a moment so we simply breathe into the awareness that God is always already present. And because you can, release that love to everyone around you, so that anyone whose body temple needs a healing, it's simply unfulfilled in that perfect love. In this now moment, all things are forgiven. In this perfect moment, the body temple writes itself into harmony and balance and peace. And because you can, I invite you to amplify that love until it fills the entire greater area that you call Oakland, Walnut Creek, San Francisco, letting it expand throughout the entire state of California. It knows no limit. Right now, as we sit with our hearts open, tens of millions, maybe more, are right now opening their hearts to the infinite. And while they may call a God a name we've never heard, there's only one, infinite all. Only one. Jesus called it Abundabashamaya, the great cosmic birthing presence that permeates all creation. It doesn't matter what you call it. It matters that you allow it to fill you with its presence and become aware that you are its instrument. So just join me as we breathe into this love, allowing it to flow throughout our country, throughout our world, bringing thoughts of peace, bringing light precisely where someone right now is calling out in pain, calling out in terror, calling out from a place where they can't feed their children, where it's not safe to even go outside their house. Right now, your love is flowing there and creating a soul remembrance that they too have this power right where they are. The full power and presence of God is. And so we remember for all people the grace. And we give thanks that we live in such a blessed time. Every one of us so prospered beyond most anything people in the world have ever experienced. And the greatest gift of all is to be awakening to the one, to the all, to the love. And so just join me as we let this presence, this awareness wash through us, remind us, heal us, quicken within us the purpose for which we've come to serve an awakened world. And just let your gratitude, the gratitude to the left of you, the gratitude to the right of you, above you, below you, let us walk in gratitude. For the gift has been given. The gift has been given. And in that we are truly thankful. So join me for a few moments in the silence, just letting the light of the infinite wash over you, pour through you, radiate from you. Love knows what to do. Once it is released, love perfectly moves to do whatever is most helpful. And in the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke, Abundabashamaya Natekadashama, great cosmic birthing presence that permeates all creation, shimmer and shine thy light through me. And for this we are grateful.
Jennifer Hooker, and it's my pleasure to highlight a few of the many upcoming events here at Unity of Walnut Creek. Please join Reverend David for a Christmas holiday retreat the first Friday evening in December and all day the following day, Saturday. Give yourself the special gift of a mystical Christmas experience at the beautiful retreat center in Clayton. And sign-ups are on the patio. Excuse me, they're in the book center. Our special Thanksgiving gratitude service will be a week from today. Please join Reverend David and all of our community as we give heartfelt thanks together. After the services, our youth and family ministry kick off the Christmas season with their Dickens Fair. And both parents and children are encouraged to dress in their favorite Dickens era costume. And to find out more about these activities and all the other wonderful events we have at Unity, please consult your bulletin and or our website. And now I'd like to invite Mike McGarvey.
I absolutely love Thanksgiving. I have so many things to be thankful for, and one of them is that I will have Thanksgiving dinner at noon on Thanksgiving Day with you. We always have maybe 60 people. Everybody comes with love in their heart and a nice dish to bring. We even have leftovers most of the time. And everyone on the air or here, even if you've never been here before, is invited. And there are clipboards in the bookstore so you can sign up to kind of see what we need and what you want to bring, and we'll have an idea of what's going on. A lot of times, people will bring a turkey cooked and carved and then go off to their own family. That kind of generosity just fills my heart until the next year. We do it all over again. So you're welcome to do that or to drop something off, green bean casserole or something on your way. So we'll see a lot of you 12 o'clock on Thursday.
And until you hear the gong, please enjoy taking a quick moment to greet the people immediately around you.
no, we're no longer sitting up there. You sit up straight, you act like you're interested. You guys are great. Thank you. Say with me, aloha. Aloha. Such a wonderful thing. You know, this is my 12th Sunday on the road. Never been away from home this long. And I get to come through every day to the Harper's community. And I knew that you were going to be the most loving, the most amazing folks, all the way from Maui. I see, so David's watching, so turn around and say hi. Hi, David. And I just looked up, and from Maui, our former youth director, stand up, Sandy, and they met on a date, and they decided, this is what, 30 years now? How long have you been together? 32. They decided that when they met that they were going to live their marriage as if they were on their date, and they've done it, so yay! And then it's really great that my name hasn't been mispronounced for a while, but for the very first time ever, someone from the Omwake family is in a church service. So I want to introduce my nephew, my youngest nephew, and his beloved John and Kenzie. Would you just give them a yay, 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 yay. Well, when you say aloha, didn't you just feel happy? Didn't you miss us, Sandy? Yes, I know. Aloha. You know, you can't say aloha without smiling. Try it. Turn to somebody and say aloha. Try it. You cannot say aloha with your whole body opening up. Aloha. It's such a great vibration. You know, Hawaiian language is so fabulous because every single word goes back to spirit. They don't have any words that don't go back to spirit. Every single Hawaiian word, everyone ends with a vowel. You cannot speak, sing, or think Hawaiian without breathing. And what do we all know about breath? Sacred breath. The closest way to access. Aloha. Say that with me again. Aloha. Means from the very first light. Now there's hundreds of meanings for all Hawaiian words, and aloha is not an exception. But having studied a lot of them, the one that I love the best is from the very first light, or from the very beginning. Lo, for eternity. Not for a long time. Eternity is all time. Aloha, the breath. From the very first light, throughout all eternity, we share the breath of God. So there's a tagline. You know what it is? Of course I love you. I mean, no, let's just think about it. Even the mind can get this, and we know we have to get to the heart before we can awaken, but even the mind can figure it out. If we're together, not for a long time, but forever, how smart do you have to be to decide, I think I'll start loving you right now. I mean, how many of you need to hold on to your, I mean, it's forever, guys. There's 7 billion of us on this planet. The other becomes us. Oh. And here's this what's beautiful about aloha. Forever we love each other, right? Because literally when I say I love you, think about it when you say I love you, you are literally saying I'm happy with you. Turn to somebody and say, I'm really happy with you. Come on, see how I'm really happy with you. You know? Yeah. Yeah, that makes you happy, doesn't it? Because sometimes, isn't it true, we say, I love you, and here's my 5-point plan for you to get better? Don't we say that? On relationships, we're starting, I really love you, but here's a few things that you could do to make it. But we're basically saying it'd make my life better, aren't we? We're usually saying that? But imagine if we live every day in the vibration, and that's all there is vibration. The universe must match your vibration. It does not match your thoughts, your feeling. It matches your vibration. And when you are in love and joy, the universe must come and match the love and joy. You can say, I love you, but down here you're doing this little inventory thing on them. Which part is the universe going to match? I guarantee 100%. It matches your vibration. That's what the universe does. It says yes. So I want to teach you another word today. And the word is apocatastasis. Omwake, Aloha. Now here's the third big test. This is for all the gold in the world. Apocatastasis. Say apocatastasis. Something wonderful is happening right now. Apocatastasis. The frequency that word is something wonderful is happening right now. It's a real word, and my son, who made me do this talk, I've only given it twice since I've been on the road, because he said, you've got to give this talk. So I'm giving it because my son named his company Apple Caps. Apocatastasis, I could give you all of the words. It's sociology, it's in biology, but basically I'll give you an example because I don't want you to go up in your head, okay? Say it one more time. Apocatastasis, something wonderful is happening right now. Like aloha, of course I love you, right? Of course I love you. I'm happy with you. Apocatastasis. So, I don't know, there's how many trillion cells? We've got a nurse in here. We got 2 or 3 trillion cells in our body, right? And my little finger has several million, I'm sure. And they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're all sitting here. Anybody thinking about, I hope my finger's working right. I hope that skin is growing and all that. No, you're not. It's just doing what it's supposed to do. But if by accident, I don't know, you got a little paper cut or you accidentally cut your finger, it would bleed, right? You might feel an ouch, it would bleed. And those little cells that were on their happy way, they were doing what they're supposed to do, right? Would suddenly shift. They wouldn't have a board meeting. They wouldn't call a therapist. They wouldn't even pray. They would shift. If you're healthy and you cut yourself, those cells were doing one thing in a nanosecond, faster than you can measure. They shift. That's apocatastasis. Something wonderful is happening right now. If you're healthy and you're whole as a community, if you're healthy and whole as an individual, if you're healthy and whole as a country, when there's a shock, and there's going to be a shock, right? Somebody's going to take your parking spot today. Almost always, when I hate to give this talk, because somebody walks out and has a flat tire. So I should stop saying it, but something might go differently than you planned today. Is that right? Like I planned on watching the Seahawks. They're not showing the Seahawks today. Apocatastasis. They're going to show the 49ers. Apocatastasis. Oh, yeah, for you. Yeah, for you. I want everybody to be happy. And the way my Seahawks have been playing, it's probably better I don't watch. So it's probably okay. Apocatastasis. So when we understand that the minute there's a shift, everything that's healthy changes and immediately starts to set out antibiotics, starts to seal it up, starts to coagulate the blood. And when it's done, it goes on its way. It doesn't say, oh, wow, that was great. Look what I did. No, it just does. And that's how when we start to align and live in the presence of the infinite, attune ourselves to the Spirit of God, that's how our life works. Guaranteed. It's not like when we finally surrender to God, nothing goes wrong. How many thought, if I could get those affirmations right and forgive everybody, my life would work? Come on. Little honesty. Yeah, and after a few years, what have you noticed? Oh, you didn't read that line where Jesus said, in the world, which is in phenomenon, in form, you're going to have trials and tribulations. That looks like setbacks. That looks like disappointments. People you love will leave you. The government will go a different way. All things kind of happen, right? But be of good cheer. He said, hey, out there, it's always going to be coming and going. It's the world of phenomenon. And I, for years, tried to get it all right. How many have tried to get all your you-know-what together? I don't know why you tried to get that together, but people do. But the nature of life is out there. It's always shifting and changing. We want to live in the dynamic flow of it so that when something happens, and it will, we immediately go with the highest possible good. Apocatastasis. Say it again. Apocatastasis. Something wonderful is happening. Let me just give you a real graphic example. All the women in here that have had a child, can I see? Okay, you know that moment of, the child is born? Pretty good, huh? Yeah. All right, pretty good. Then how many remember things happen in your body? Morning sickness. My son's 51. I remember gas. I remember 8.5 months. You know, labor was no picnic. I don't care what they tell you. Anybody here? Oh yeah, labor, bring it on, right? But what happened when that baby was in your arms? Something wonderful. So what we forget, that the involution is the divine idea, whether it's the dream you have in your heart for love, the dream you have for a business, the dream you have. Reverend Sheila and I I can call her Reverend because she's been a minister for a long, long time. They're going to finally give it to her, but she's been one. We started visioning retreats. I think I was in Kansas, and she was in Detroit, and we said we ought to do retreats. Well, I didn't even know she was going to be here in my first Maui retreat. This is 15 years later. It's going to be in Maui. What are the chances? This April, so with Ramdas, so we'll have to have you come, right? So that's how it happens. It took 15 years. There was lots of growing, lots of changes, right? Apocatastasis, something wonderful is happening right now. Anybody had some of those shocks, those disappointments? Okay, we'll cast out lying demons later. We've all had them. There's nobody in here that hasn't had disappointments, betrayals, setbacks, have we? But we want to live in a vibration that allows the highest and the best always. And that's so, just like you do your heart math, apocatastasis, something wonderful is happening. It's just a frequency. It's just a choice. It's just a choice to stay in the highest possible outcome while the world is doing what it does. Apocatastasis. The first time I heard it, I was somewhat like the young man, and some of you maybe can relate to this. Have you ever looked for a job and haven't been able to find one? You don't need to raise your hands. How disappointing that is. You filled out the applications and they haven't called you back. This young man had filled out dozens of applications, dozens of them. Never got a call back. And then he gets a call from HR. He said, "We want to talk to you." He's so excited because this is the first time they've even wanted to hear from him. But he said, the guy in HR said, "We need to tell you right up front, there's no way we could hire you. But we were just so amazed with your application. We're going to give you $100 if you'll just come down and talk to us because we want to understand the process." So he went. He went down and they sat down and the president of the company and several of the salesmen and the HR guy was there. And they said, "We're looking at your application and we just wanted to ask you about it. It says here that you don't have any education in this field." He goes, "Yeah. And it says here that you don't have an aptitude for anything in this field." Uh-huh. It says you don't have any experience in anything in this field. And so we were wondering why your salary request was higher than our CEO makes. Now, some of you are going to relate to this. Clearly, the young man said, "You've forgotten how hard you have to work when you don't know how it works." When you don't know what you're doing, it's really hard. How many, when you don't understand that everything is vibration, when you think that, wow, you got a setback, so you ought to call and tell everybody about it, and whine about it, and complain about it, all the universe hears is, wow, they're really interested in that setback. And so the universe just says, do it again. That's how it works. Jesus said it's the Father's good pleasure, which really isn't how it worked, but it's the universe's divine design to give you a conscious awareness of ever-increasing good. That's what heaven is, an awareness of ever-increasing good. And he said it's done unto you according to what? Your worthiness? No, according to your beliefs. And out of your beliefs, you speak. And if you think the world is up and down, if you think the world is hit or miss, if you think sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, what do you get to experience? Everything that comes out of your mouth. When you live in a vibration of apocatastasis, something wonderful is happening. What does the universe match? Something wonderful is happening. And given that you're going to have a few setbacks, you want to have a way to train your brain. You could go, "God, that's great," or "God's in the midst of this." But the minute you open your mouth to complain, the universe just says, repeat. You can whine, you can scream, you can beg, and you can howl, and the universe just says, repeat. How many want to give a testimony? And then you learn to close your mouth, go down there, clear out what it was, and come up out of the water and say, apocatastasis. Right now, right here, in the midst of this diagnosis, in the midst of this loss, in the midst of this setback, something wonderful is happening. And I also know that everyone in this room, Jack Boland used to say, it's the best, worst thing that ever happened to you. Those setbacks, when you realize that thing that drove you to your knees, that thing that made you just, when you finally got it and you finally woke up and you learned the power of your words and you learned how you were creating all of the drama. You know where Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas, seek and don't stop seeking till you find. How many of you have read the Gospel of Thomas? Seek and don't stop seeking until you find. And when you find, when you awaken, you will be disturbed. You guys read that? You'll be disturbed because, and then he said, you will feel the awe and you will reign with me forever. Because when you first wake up, what you see is you created all of that trouble in your life. You are distressed. You created it. But God's will for all of us, 7 billion of us, is to live on heaven on earth. All of us. Nobody gets left out in God's kingdom, believe me. If you're keeping anybody outside your heart thinking they don't get in, guess who doesn't get in? You don't get in. Your grievances hide the light in you. They don't hide it in anybody else. So here's the great good news. Today, any minute, any breath, we can change and come into that vibration. So the first time I heard apokatastasis, something wonderful is happening right now, I was at Jack Boland's church, where you served a time there, right? You might not have known Jack, but Jack Boland, I had an apokatastasis moment. I left Southern California, where I was born, to go to a place called Kansas City, where it's very cold with no ski slopes. What is the point of that? Why would you have snow and not a ski slope? I don't quite get that, but Buffalo is probably thinking about that right now. Let's send waves and waves of warmth, right? So I went for a couple years because I was going home to Southern California. There was a ministry there that I was going to come back as an associate. They had a TV ministry. The associate got a Mercedes. I don't know, that appealed to me. And it was just going to be great. I was going for 2 years. I'd come back. Right before I was supposed to go back, I got real divine guidance that I could not go back. It would not be healthy. It wouldn't be a good choice. Apokatastasis. And the very next day, Jack Boland came into my life. I'd never met him. I knew who he was. He had the biggest church in Unity at the time, Church of Today. And he asked me what was going on because I must have had that little look on my face. And I told him, and he goes, apokatastasis, come up to Detroit. And why don't you serve with us? And I said, is it any colder than Kansas City? I mean, I'm very spiritually inclined. And he goes, oh, not much. Yeah, that not much was pretty big, right? If you're from Southern California. So, but when I got there, people would walk around saying, apokatastasis, something wonderful's happening. And so a woman came in to me, I was brand new, green as you can be, right out of ministerial school. And this young woman came in and she had, she had quite a few dramas going on. I can't remember all of them, but her job was awful. She was in an abusive relationship, didn't get along with her landlord. It was one thing after another. I thought as I was listening, she had a truck and a dog. She's got the makings of a country western song here, I mean, I'm thinking she is really in the drama of it, And so I took her to see Jack Boland. And she's just crying through this whole story. She'd lost her job, and she added a few things she hadn't shared with me. I mean, she was really building this. She had the master in front of her. And she's going on and on. Have any of you ever gone on and on like you don't get my point? They really bad, Well, she was going on and on. And Jack's 6'2", and he walks over and puts his hand on her. He goes, that's wonderful. And my little pastoral heart just dropped down like, what? And he goes, apokatastasis, that's wonderful. And then he begins to talk her through and bring her to a whole new revelation of what's possible. And when she left, she was walking out of there like, apokatastasis, something's wonderful. And my mouth must have still been open because he looked at me and said, Mary Omwake, where is your faith? Is your faith in her drama, what she's created because she didn't understand how it worked? Or is your faith in the power of God in her to create a wonderful, magnificent life? Which one are you going with? And wow, that changed me on the spot. At Church of Today, and they took people right off the street. They were our largest church at the time. Had about 1,500, 2,000 on Sunday. And when you went into the coffee room, they had something like 30 to 60 classes and support groups a week. Not just Sunday, but all week long. They had to set up, break down. They had huge space. And when you went into the copying room, and everybody who facilitated and anybody who taught a class had to go in there, right? And right over this amazing copy room that had state-of-the-art equipment, had designer wood cases and designer wallpaper. I mean, it was first rate. Imagine their copy room. Wow, you know? And right over was this beautifully framed picture. And it was an oil picture with a frame just outrageously gorgeous. And it said, "Abacatastasis, Jack, thank you. Thank you for helping me reach my dream." And in that picture was a man. You remember those Cadillacs that had those fishtails? You know, the ones that were, you know, they went like big as your living room. And this was a convertible. It had like steer horn on the front of it. He's standing there with a hat like this, and there's thousands of cattle, little dots in front of this oil. In the back, there's some structures. I don't know what they are. But Abacatastasis, Jack, thank you for helping me reach my dream. Turns out this man was a vice president of one of the motor companies there in Detroit, had a 6-figure income, and he had a dream. And you know, you have dreams. We all have dreams. And his dream wasn't to help Jack build a great church, which he'd done. He supported it financially, given lots of money, was on the board of directors. His dream was to have a cattle ranch in Oklahoma. So Jack helped him with his dream. He's turned in his retirement, gave up his 6-figure job, sold everything he had, and went to Oklahoma and bought thousands and thousands of acres. And then he went to drill for water. And every time he drilled for water, they never found. And I don't know if you've been to Oklahoma, but you need water. You guys could use some too. But you can't have cattle without water, right? So he would drill for water, and he went through all the extra money he had. And he'd call Jack and say, "Jack," and he'd tell the story. What did Jack say? "Abacatastasis, something wonderful is happening right now." Well, when he went through his savings, then he went and borrowed money from a bank, and he went through all of that money, and he called Jack, and Jack said, "Come on, abacatastasis. You need to, it's got to be an automatic response in you. Abacatastasis, something wonderful is happening right now." After he went through the bank's money, he went through his family and friends' money. He called Jack. There's no water. They're drilling every place. He's only got enough money for just a few more digs, and he calls Jack, and he says, "Jack, I'm just about totally out. They're going to take the land. Everything I had is..." And Jack said, "Abacatastasis, something wonderful." And with about enough money to drill 2 more wells, he hit the largest oil reserve in the state of Oklahoma. He had so much money, this is true, tens of thousands heads of cattle, and he brought bottled water in for all of them. You see, when you got all the oil in Oklahoma, you can buy the water. Abacatastasis. So I just want to remind us all we have a dream. We want to be like the young woman who every night wakes up with a nightmare, a recurring nightmare. And in the nightmare, she's just about to be caught by a fire-breathing dragon. In any place we have anxiety in our life or fear in our life, there's a fire-breathing dragon. And every night she wakes up right before the dragon gets her. And have you ever woken up from a nightmare? And it's like it happened, right? You wake up and your heart is palpitating and you're afraid. And so this night, the dragon catches her. And she says, "Oh my God, are you gonna kill me?" And the dragon says in the sweetest voice, "I don't know, lady, it's your dream." And that's the truest thing I've said to you all morning. You're living your dream. Everything that you've made up that is in heaven, a little south of heaven, today you get to change it. You get to simply let it go. Let it just go. I don't have notes for this talk, but I had to close because I aim, Edwin Gaines can close on the dot. Oh, she's the most magnificent thing. I'm going to close 1 minute early. I want you to text Edwin and tell her. I've never been accused of closing early in my life. But about 7 years ago, I was living on Maui, and parts of my life were going very, very well, and parts weren't. That's what happens when we're not totally clear and totally aligned. And someone interviewed Warren Buffett. You guys know Warren Buffett? Oh, yeah. Really rich, right? Yeah. And they said to him, now I'm approaching retirement age and he's 80. And they said to Warren Buffett, when are you going to retire? And this is my prayer for every one of us today. He said, retire. Every day I get up, I do work that I love with people I cherish. And that's my dream. God bless you.
Available after the service today to offer prayer support for challenges or celebrations. And you may see them in the sanctuary, out on the grounds, on the patio, and they are the ones wearing the lavender stoles. I ask everyone to please take a connection card from the seat pockets in front of you. And we invite each of you to take a moment to fill out this card if you have a prayer request, a comment, or a question. And if you're new to Unity, you're also invited to take the card and to stop by the welcome table out on the patio after the service, and we'd enjoy getting to know you better. Thank you for checking the box if you're joining us in our weekly spiritual focus. And our spiritual focus this week is something wonderful is happening right now. And the ushers will receive your card with the offering toward the end of the music. It's time for our prosperity celebration. For credit card donations, there are envelopes provided in the seat pockets in front of you. And for those of you watching at home, just click on the donate button on our Watch Live page. One of the understandings of the great spiritual laws is that it is by giving that we expand the flow of goodness in our lives. Jesus, the master teacher, told us, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." I invite you to take your tithe or offering in your hand and be aware that God is the source of all your good. Please repeat our affirmation with me together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Praise to the Lord.
light shine.